everyone! So today I'm going to be doing my July/Booktube-a-thon wrap-up video. I'm doing this all in one video because, as I explained, hurt my shoulder. It's better, it's definitely better. I thought today I didn't have to wear this, and then I spent the whole day without it, and I'm now in agony. So I sort of jumped the gun a little bit, but it's definitely better than it was. I put Booktube-a-thon on hold a little bit because I spent just a couple of days rolling around in bed feeling sorry for myself because I was in so much pain. So I'm going to do my July wrap up. I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books in July. No, 7. I read 7 books. There's one I haven't gotten. Where are you, boy? Did I read 7? No, 8. I read 8 books. So firstly, in July, I read Sea of Monsters by... But I read Percy Jackson and the Sea of... I was going to say Sea of Monsters by Percy Jackson, which is not correct. Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters by Rick Riordan. This is the second book in the Percy Jackson series. I have briefly mentioned it on here before, but I am reading the Percy Jackson series for the first time ever. And so I read Sea of Monsters in July. I thought it was really good. I loved it. There was things I saw coming, things I didn't, stuff that was really obvious, but that I really loved and loved the way it was executed, but I will talk more about that in my main whole big Percy Jackson video. But yeah, I love this one. Similarly, in July I read Percy Jackson and the Titan's Curse, again by Rick Riordan, which is the 3rd book in the series, and again I loved it. For those that don't know, the Percy Jackson series is about a boy called Percy who finds out that he is a half-blood, so he is half human, half god. He is a demigod. He is the son of a god. I will not say which god, that is a spoiler. Me at the movie. Really good series. I'm loving it so far. It's so well written, it's so clever and funny and witty humour. And
hear that weird noise that just happened? That was my microphone breaking. Yay! The rest of that video had 0 sound, and now my microphone is broken, and I have a detachable microphone, so this is the actual Canon microphone, so you might hear that the quality is a little bit different because it's a different microphone. Okay, let's continue. So the next book that I read in July, that was actually the first book I read in the Booktube-a-thon, was The Exact Opposite of Bouquet by Laura Stephen, and this is about a girl called Izzy, and a picture of her and a politician's son gets leaked, and they're in a very compromising position in the picture. This tackles lots of really important themes and lots of really important things, like how in situations like this it tends to be that the man is praised and the woman is absolutely just burned like alive. People call him like a slut and a whore and stuff, whereas the guy's like, hey, like that kind of thing. And it looks on that, it looks at attitudes towards it, it looks at how easy things can spread on the internet and misinformation and how horrible people can be and can act based on just hearing misinformation, and it looks at revenge porn, it looks at friendship and family and different lots of dynamics, and it went into a lot more detail of different things than I thought, and really didn't sugarcoat anything. It really kind of like dealt with lots of different themes, and I think this is the kind of thing we need to be speaking about, and it is an important thing because that attitude is it's just complete double standards and it's gross. Like, 1, why should you be looking at pictures which were taken of people without their consent? 2, why does only one half of the party get judged? And 3, like, it's none of your business, it's not your life, it doesn't concern you, and I think people on the internet really need to think about that. So this book explored that, and I think it was done really well. I really liked this book. I'm really glad I finally got around to reading it, and I would definitely recommend it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And then the second book I read for the Booktube-a-thon is More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera, and then I stopped reading for the Booktube-a-thon because, as you remember, I had my arm, I hurt my shoulder. It's better now. I'm allowed my sling off, which is great. This is the new English cover that came out, and it has these little like smiley and sad faces on the front, and they're on certain pages as well, and I love it. And this is about a guy called Aaron who has been having a hard time recently. He's kind of forgotten what it's like to be happy. He's kind of forgotten what it's like to sort of be him and be in his life and kind of just feel okay. But slowly but surely he is starting to feel okay, and he is starting to feel better. And then he meets Thomas, and Thomas's impact in his life is a good one, but it's kind of his new friendship with Thomas versus his old friendship with his other friends, and his relationship with his girlfriend, and kind of who makes you happy and what makes you happy and what's best for you and what you should do to help you. I really love this book. I think it's really great. There's also a thing in this where there's now software that can erase memories of yours to help you forget moments that you want to forget, and I really like that in Adam Silvera's books they are kind of contemporary books set in our world now, set in a world that is ours and we know, but they do have this slightly more advanced futuristic element to some of them, which I think is really cool, and it adds just a little bit something else. So I really like this one as well. Okay, so I love Marvel and have loved Marvel since I was 13 years old, walked into the cinema to see Iron Man, the very first one in 2008, and I fell in love with it, and I fell in love with the character of Tony Stark. He is my fave. Like, why does everyone hate him? He is my favourite. I love him, and I've always loved him. There are other characters as well who I like, and characters that I want to know more about, and this year I'm going to make a whole video about it, but I've actually finally started reading the comic books because I finally have the time and financial ability, because I don't have that. I didn't have that before. I haven't had that. Like, the comics are a lot of money, and to keep up with them it's a lot of money, so you know, I had to be like secure, but now I'm finally starting to read them. But I saw the sequel to the book I'm about to show you in Waterstones, so I asked them if they had the first one, and she said it had been discontinued, so I had to order it off of I think like A Books or something. But that was Black Widow Forever Red by Margaret Stoll, and this is like a Marvel, like it is like a Marvel book. I think it's a bit like the DC ones that Sarah J Maas and that kind of thing are doing now, like the Catwoman. Really did one as well, but I think this is kind of the Marvel version of ones like that. And this I thought was going to be Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow's like backstory in her life, because she talks about stuff in the films, she talks about stuff in the comic books, but I am always a sucker for additional content, as we know. So I wanted more backstory for Black Widow because she is kind of a bit of a one where we don't really know that much. This isn't really that. It's about a girl called Ava, and at the beginning of the book Ava is really young, and her and Natasha meet, and she says if she ever needs her she'll help, and then it's a couple of years later and that hasn't really happened, and Ava is bitter and she's a bit sort of not massive fan of the whole superhero thing that's going on. So whilst there are bits in Natasha's perspective and bits that do touch upon Natasha and her life, this is mostly a book about Ava, and I did enjoy it as that, but I did think it was going to be more of a backstory of Black Widow, so you know what I mean? Overall, I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I have bought the sequel. I bought it when I saw it that day in Waterstones, so I am going to read the sequel. I think I didn't dislike it like enough to say I'm not continuing with the series, but it just wasn't what I was expecting. Then next in July I read Children of Blood and Bone by Tony Adeyemi. I don't want to say guilty pleasure, but one of the things that I really enjoy is chat shows, particularly 2. Graham Norton, who is just amazing, he's a chat show in England, and it's just grand, honestly. He is hilarious. I get into these loops where I just watch old interviews on YouTube over and over and over again, and then I've procrastinated for like 10 hours before I know it. And then also Jimmy Fallon, and I've always really liked Jimmy Fallon, and I do the same thing. I just watch loads and loads of stuff, and he did a Tonight Show Summer Reads where they read this book, and it was so great to see young, like, YA books, young adult books being spoken about such a big platform and promoted by like such a big person and big thing. And he even did a thing with Tony Adeyemi and like all this stuff. It was so cool. So I had this book for a while, and I knew I wanted to get around to reading it because I've heard nothing but good things. So I finally picked it up, and I absolutely loved it. And this is about a girl called Zeely, and where she lives was once full of magic, and then something happened and magic was taken, and it became something that was bad, and people that had magic were killed, and now those that kind of could have had it, if you're a magi, you kind of could have had it, you're taxed, and they kind of see you as lesser. And then something happens, and Zeely comes into contact with someone who may know the way to bring magic back and may be able to bring it back into their kingdom, and it's kind of that adventure and that story. This book is amazing. It's such a good amount of world building. Because it is a high fantasy book, there's so much new world to it, and sometimes that can be really overwhelming, but Tony Adeyemi is really good at just knowing the right amount of new information to give you every chapter and every page. She just gives you the right amount so you can fall more and more into this new world, but you aren't confused, you don't feel lost, you feel like you're actually there with it, experiencing it and finding out this information real time rather than being overloaded, and it's just absolutely brilliant. 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Are We All Lemmings and Snowflakes by Holly Bourne. This is a proof copy, as you can see. This isn't the actual copy. The actual version is out now. It came out on the 9th of August, and this is about a girl called Olive who she doesn't want to know her diagnosis, but she has kind of been in and out of treatment centres. She's had very bad kind of episodes with her mental health, so she gets invited to take part in a clinical trial, but the clinical trial is a new facility which hasn't been up yet, but they're having this trial to see if their treatments work and if they work and how people respond to it before they can be properly like opened and all that kind of thing. So Olive ends up going, and she meets lots of people there, and it's kind of her road to recovery and their road to recovery and kind of everyone else's, and kind of how you can interact with these other people, and kind of the idea of kindness and being kind to people and all that kind of thing. And it's that journey and that exploration. I really enjoyed this book. I gave this book like 3.75 out of 5 stars. I want to make a whole video about it, but I did enjoy it. I did think there were bits in it which I really related with, and there were other things as well which I do want to go more into detail in my actual review, because there are a couple of things which I would have like not liked, but kind of didn't enjoy as much as the rest of it. I guess that's the way to put it. So I'm going to do a full review of this. I'm going to get the actual like finished version now. It's out, and I am looking forward to talking about it with you. And then finally in July I read To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. I read this book a long time ago, and the film is coming out on Netflix very soon, so I wanted to reread it before then. And this is about a girl called Lara Jean who writes letters to all the boys she's loved and that she's had crushes on and that she's really liked, and she doesn't ever send them out. She just keeps them in a box in her room, and then one day they do get sent out and it causes lots of problems, and it's that whole story. This book deals with kind of not only that, but kind of friendship and family and kind of first loves and feelings and all that kind of thing, and kind of you coming into yourself and kind of learning things about yourself, and I really love it. I'm really looking forward to see the movie. I'll link the trailer down below because it looks really good. It's going to be on Netflix on the 17th of August or 18th of August, something like that. And also I bought the sequel and the third one in the series because it's now a series as well, which I am looking forward to reading. So yeah, so those were all the books that I read in July. Sorry about the video cutting off and changing midway through. It's like 4 days later or something, and I got around to editing it, and brilliant. I'd love to know which books you read in July. Have you read any of these? Are you planning on reading any of these? How did your Booktube-a-thon go if you ended up doing it? Thank you guys for watching. I hope you're doing really well, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!
I'm obsessed with this song. How am I going to do this with like one hand?